Hey everybody, John Fenn here, Church Without Walls International, CWOWI.org. Thanks for joining me. Hope you'll visit our website. It's there that we post our Zoom meetings, our conferences, any prophetic words that the Lord gives me, things of that nature is where I put all my weekly thoughts and e-newsletter. So you want to go to CWOWI.org and sign up for my weekly thoughts and my e-newsletter. Also, you will find in this channel on YouTube here, you will find teachings that start out saying house church and then colon or semicolon and then the subject title after them. Those are just about church in the home, and they'll answer a lot of questions. Also, we have some videos on our website that will answer questions too. But while you're here, you may want to just look for those that say house church, and then it explains how we do or why we do what we do. So anyway, today talking about being sensitive to the Lord. You know, in recent history, there are a lot of Christians out there taking very different political views. There are Christians out there taking very different doctrinal views. And it doesn't matter what the subject is. You know, it kind of runs in cycles. You know, you'll have the hot topic around the body of Christ. And some people get that and they follow it and they jump in headlong. And then other people are like, okay, that doesn't sit right with me. And what I want to talk today about is how to discern between, some new fad or something going on and your spirit man. See, Jesus said in John 16:13 that the Spirit of truth will guide you into all truth. The Spirit of truth will guide you into all truth. Well, guiding is a process. That means as you go along step by step, you are being led, which means there will be some times where you'll step off up to the side a little bit and have to be corrected, and step off to the other side and have to be corrected. He will guide you into all truth. But the point is this: how do you discern something that claims to be of God is God? You know, with the internet now, there's alternate media. There are so many different social sites, websites, news sites, etc. How do you make sense of all the voices that are out there? Well, first off, your spirit man is sensed by your mind down in your spirit man. And I say it's in your spirit, soul, and body. 1 Thessalonians 5:23. Your spirit, soul, and body, but your spirit man is the innermost part of you. And you know how it is. Your mind can often figure out what's going on in your spirit. This happens every day almost. This happens when you start to do something and then you check on the inside. It's like, oh, that doesn't feel right with me. Or somebody will say, I've got a bad feeling about this, or my gut is telling me. And what that is your head is recognizing what's going on in your spirit man. But Hebrews 5:14 says that strong meat is for those who by reason of use have trained their senses to discern between good and evil. By reason of use, there's that sense again, like guide, where it's a sense of as you walk along. In other words, you've got to apply yourself to this. You have to apply yourself. You have to make it a part of your life. Now, let me give you an example. In John chapter 12, verses 29 through 31, and actually right before that, Jesus had said, his soul is sorrowful. And but he said this. He said, he looked up and he said, Father, glorify your name. And the text of John 12, 29 through 31 says this: and there came a voice out of heaven that said, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. And some that stood by said that it thundered. Others said, an angel spoke to him. But Jesus said to them, this voice did not come for my sake, but for your sake. Now I want you to see something. The Father spoke out of the clear blue air, audibly, to multiple people. But some of those people were so dull of hearing the Father's voice that all they heard was a thunderclap. They said, it was a thunderclap. They didn't recognize anything else. Other people were a little bit more tuned in and they recognized it was supernatural. They said, must have been an angel that spoke to him. But obviously the Apostle John, Jesus, and others who were around, who were more accurately tuned in, recognized that was the voice of the Father saying, I have both glorified it and will glorify it again. We're all in this mix here of going from hearing the Father's voice like thunder and not really getting it, to maybe recognizing that something supernatural is going on, that God's communicating something, but I don't know it, to the point where you say accurately, oh, that was the Father's voice, or this is what he was saying. And so that is our journey by reason of use. How do you tell? There's a process of elimination. Number one is that the Lord does not break his own law. So he's not going to tell you to steal something. He's not going to tell you to do something immoral. If he's leading you, it will be honest, it will be transparent, even to your own hurt. It will be something that you'll recognize. For instance, maybe you're needing $20 for something, and you're walking along in the store, and a $20 bill or a 20 euro or whatever the note falls out of somebody's pocket or pocketbook ahead of you, and you see it fall to the floor. And you, on the one hand, will say, yay, I needed the $20, and there it is right in front of me. But that is a test. See, the Lord doesn't test you with evil. He will test you to see what's in your heart. And the point is, when you do what's right and you pick up that 20 and you go to that person and you say, hey, you dropped this, then you've proven that you can be trusted. From heaven has seen that you can be trusted, and you'll be entrusted with more. And so as a result of that, you start listening to these choices. It's like, does this make common sense? When you hear something on, let's say, alternative media, does it make common sense? Does it actually follow the mechanics? You know, here in the United States, we had an election last year, and there are all sorts of outrageous prophecies and things said. And as one Christian lawmaker commented, these people don't understand how government works and don't understand the political mechanisms that have to happen for much of what they're saying to come to pass. And that is the way it is. When you're hearing the voice of the Lord, you say, okay, is this logical? Does this flow within what makes common sense? There are times, folks, trust me, there are times where faith does not make common sense. You know, the Lord led Moses and Israel to the edge of the sea with their backs to the sea. That is not a good tactical place to be when you've got the Egyptian army chasing you. And that's what the people were complaining to Moses about. Who knew at the time that the sea was going to part and Israel was going to walk through as if they were on dry land? There are those exceptions to the rule, but by and large, the Lord is pretty logical. And so he follows moral guidance. He follows common sense in most cases. And in other words, if you are looking for a job and you're looking at the applications, something will leap out at you. You know, you'll see a notice on there, and it'll sit right with you. It'll make sense in your head, and it'll bear witness in your spirit. And then you make application and you get the job. You can have that assurance ahead of time. Hey, I've got this job, or I believe the Lord is leading here. And it's the combination of your mind picking up on what's in your spirit. And so let me give you an idea of this. Years ago, I was in a worship service, and it was worship, and suddenly I was in the spirit and I saw the Lord. And the Lord's presence was so strong, and you could tell that he was there, you know, ministering to people. And my eyes were suddenly open, and I saw Jesus walking around the congregation. And he was quite a few feet away, but he was walking around and he was talking to people. He was putting a hand on a person's shoulder and speaking encouraging words to them. And he looked at me and he said, true worship is taking place tonight. And, you know, I just observed this for a couple minutes. But the couple in front of me was a couple who'd come in late. I was sitting on the back row because I had come in late. And this couple came in, and they had a Bible there, and they were not participating in the worship. The man had his hands folded in front of him, and they had talked a little bit among themselves during the worship. And the Lord came and stood at the end of the row. They were just about 2 or 3 seats in. They were in the row right in front of me. And the Lord came and stood right at the end of the row. And he put his hands in front of him, just kind of relaxed, and watched. And I said, don't you have a word for him? And he said, I have many things to say to him, but he's not placed himself in a position to receive. And I asked about their faith, and he said this service is the majority of their faith. This man in particular doesn't spend a lot of time with me to seek me, and though he has questions and he's seeking wisdom, they aren't important enough to him for him to spend the time before me to get the answers. And the Lord, it was an interesting visitation, because the Lord, you know, said, I have many things to speak to him, to share with him, according to the things on his heart, but he doesn't make it a high enough priority. And that's the question before us today. Is it high enough priority that says, I want to learn the voice of the Lord. I want to know how to discern between what my mind is picking up in my spirit. And if not, I'll just go with common sense or what seems right with me. Make it a lifestyle. Make it a purpose in your heart, purposeful intention in your heart to say, you know what I'm going to do? I am going to seek the Lord with all my heart. I want to know his voice. I want to hit that trial and error by reason of use. I want to be guided by the Holy Spirit into all truth. I don't want to hear his voice as thunder or just recognize something supernatural like maybe an angel spoke to him. I want to hear accurately the Father's voice. It's trial and error, but folks, you get into the habit of listening, of your mind picking up on what's going on in your spirit. I do this in a very practical way. I do this when people are talking to me or I'm reading an email or something like that. In my mind, in my eyes, I'm paying attention to them, but I also have a shift in my head where I'm checking my spirit and I'm saying, okay, how does this bear witness with the Spirit of truth within me? The Spirit of truth is inside of you. And so you can bounce things off of the Spirit of truth. And if there's nothing there, then you go with common sense, you go with what seems right. But if something just seems a little goofy, then just put it on a shelf. You want the witness between your spirit man and your spirit man and your mind. You want that witness there. You want that to be able to tell. What is one of the things that I do to remain sensitive to this? I pray in the Spirit. Praying in the Spirit, as Jude says in verses 20-21, says, build yourself up on your most holy faith, walking in the love of God. Paul said in Ephesians 5:18-19, don't be drunk with wine, don't be saturated with wine, but be filled with the Spirit by speaking to yourselves in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs, singing and making melody in your heart to the Lord. Be filled with the Spirit by worship. Build yourself up on your most holy faith by praying in the Spirit. That is the scriptural basis. That's how I maintain that sensitivity. And it's a language like any other language, so you get better at it. It's just a language you never learned with your head. It is a language from heaven or a language that you haven't learned that the Father places his content in so that he can express his desire here on the earth, and then you can pray it back to him and his will can be done on the earth. But the way you stay sensitive in that flow from heaven down to you and you back up to heaven, so to speak, the way you stay sensitive is praying in the Spirit. And when you do that and you weigh things and you bounce things off of how it feels in your spirit, then you'll find yourself making your way prosperous. You'll find yourself that's like, oh, I'm getting it now. I understand. Here's a witness in my spirit. And that way, when you hear something goofy or you hear a teaching or somebody says to you, you'll say, okay, this is a lie, or you'll recognize, you'll perceive at the very least, maybe they've got an ulterior motive or whatever the case is, the Spirit of truth in you will start to bear witness. And the Lord tends to move from the vague to the specific. So what happens is initially it'll be vague. It'll be something that is like, okay, I get this stirring, I get this witness in here, but I'm not sure the details. Then you can maybe later pray about it and more details will come and you'll find out what's going on, or you'll set it on a shelf and you'll see what will come of it. Lots to it, folks, lots to it, but I've gone a bit long here. But that point, you don't set yourself, don't be content with just hearing a clap of thunder and recognizing that it was the Father, but you don't have a clue what he said. And don't be content to say just, okay, maybe it was something supernatural, but I don't recognize it. Stir up in your heart to say, I want to be guided into all truth. I want to recognize the Spirit of truth and know that he's going to lead you into moral, upright things that he himself would do. And he will follow in that pattern. And then once you understand that, once he flows through that, once you understand that's how he flows, you'll understand what's the right thing to do, what would the Lord do. And then suddenly your mind will pick up in your spirit what he would have you do. Even if it's the difficult thing, it'll be the right thing. And you weigh out with common sense. And if something doesn't feel right in your spirit, you learn to step back and just let it play itself out. Anyway, I've gone on. I hope this has been a blessing to you. CWOWI.org. We're a worldwide network of house churches, rotating homes, rotating who leads each week, and therefore everyone participates that wants to, and the whole body of Christ rises up and matures and is blessed. So CWOWI.org. Sign up for our weekly thoughts. God bless. Bye-bye.